The Chicago Bulls get to 5-0 as they take care of the New York Knicks, 135 to 125. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Monis Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win against the New York Knicks. And so I always like to start with the theme of the game. These are just points that really describe what we saw in tonight's game. And so I have three from this game. And so the first one being guts. That's exactly what the Chicago Bulls showed in this game. They did not blink when the Knicks made their runs throughout this game. They stayed with it. They made the plays that they needed to make, and they outscored the Knicks in the third quarter 38 to 28. And so just really closed this game down. And then next, resilience. And so the Bulls showed some resilience because they were down in this game. They called a timeout. They got their composure, and then they came out of that timeout on a 16-5 run. They were able to outscore the Knicks 37 to 26 and take control of this game. And then they were able to just hold on as the Knicks continued to make their push. They outscored the Knicks in the fourth quarter 35 to 34. And so just showing guts and resilience here, because no matter what the Knicks did, the Bulls stayed with it to get their fifth win of the season. And so next, this was a team win with a purpose. And so look, at one point, the Bulls had 11 assists and 18 field goal makes. And so they did a terrific job as far as playing team basketball, which is what we have saw this season. They had 6 players that were in double figures. They also had 31 assists on the night. And then at one point, the Bulls had 17 assists and 1 turnover. And so they did a terrific job as far as taking care of the basketball. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a moment. And then as far as the bench for the Bulls, 53 to 21 as far as the Bulls leading in bench scoring. Just a great team effort across the board. And this team, you can just tell, is playing with a purpose. And so those are the 3 points here. The Bulls show guts, resilience, and just a team win with a purpose. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into the MVPs on the night. And so MVP number 1 is going to be Josh Giddey. And so look, Josh Giddey was terrific in this game. And so his stat line tonight, he had 32 points. He had 10 rebounds. He had 9 assists. He had a steal. He was 12 of 21 from the field, 57.1% from the field, and he was 4 of 8 from deep tonight, shooting 50% there. And he was 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 66.7%, and he was a +5. And so he was the only plus in the plus minus box score for the starters tonight for the Chicago Bulls. And so with Josh Giddey tonight, I think that the biggest takeaway from his game is just that he was aggressive early and often. I think his first 2 buckets were like a crossover, and then he just throws it up off of the glass. And so you could just tell that when Josh Giddey is getting downhill like that with that confidence, it's going to be a good night. He also had a really nice sequence really at the end of the quarter where he had 2 back-to-back 3-pointers, and so he had 6 there. And so he was on an absolute heater in the first half. In fact, he had 21 points in the first half. And so he did a great job as far as scoring the basketball in just every level, I thought, tonight. And so he took advantage with his size as far as getting downhill. He also did a great job as far as getting to the free throw line. I think that, we want to see him make those free throws that he missed, but still, just a terrific night for him. He had some huge rebounds as well, and the assists were great. And so, look, he almost gets a triple-double. It's his career high, I believe, with the Chicago Bulls. And so just a terrific just outing here for Josh Giddey. And so he was MVP number 1 for me. And so next, MVP number 2, it was Ayo Dosunmu. And so Ayo Dosunmu was terrific off the bench. He was a +19 for the Chicago Bulls. And what I liked about Ayo is he was just literally like just a one-man fast break tonight. So 22 points, he had 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal. He was 8 of 10 from the field, 80%, and 1 of 3 from downtown, 33.3%. As you can see, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, and he was plus 19. And so with Ayo Dosunmu, he kept getting downhill. And then also, too, he made a critical 3 in the fourth quarter. And so once again, he was showing up clutch there. He had a nice buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter. And so I believe that's like the second one this season. And so he continues to play well. This was a huge bounce back game for Ayo Dosunmu because remember, he had 9 points in the last outing. And man, he just continues to just, I can't say it enough, get downhill. The way that he got downhill today, it was great watching Ayo Dosunmu. And so he was MVP number 2 on the night. And so MVP number 3 for me, it was Vooch. And so Vooch tonight was steady as usual, but he had a really good fourth quarter. And this is after the third quarter was a little rocky for him. It was a little rocky for the team too as well. You got to give the Knicks a lot of credit because they did make the run there. But tonight, Vooch in the stat sheet, 26 points. He had 7 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He did have the 1 turnover, but you see he was 10 of 17 from the field, 58.8% from the field, 4 of 8 from deep, 50% there, just 2 of 5 from the free throw line, and he was a -3. And so I think that his plus minus probably would have been a little bit better there if he would have been able to kind of capitalize a little bit more, especially with the free throws. And so with Vooch today, like I said, he was huge in the fourth quarter. I think he scored about 8 points there in the fourth, and so that was huge, especially as the Knicks were continuing to try to seize control of the game. They just couldn't get over the hill, and so Vooch making some big baskets there. I thought defensively, he was in the right spots. You could feel the energy with Vooch tonight with his contest and things like that. And then also, too, I thought that Vooch did a great job as far as passing, too. And so I know he only had a couple assists, but I liked what I saw at the top of the key. I also liked his next assist as well. And so Vooch just continues to be steady, and he's getting things done. And also, too, I think that Vooch probably could have had some more points today because he did get some opportunities where he did get the Knicks in some mismatches, but didn't necessarily, kind of take advantage, I think, of the post like you would want tonight. But again, it didn't matter because the Chicago Bulls continue to do it as a team. But, that is something that I think the Bulls can probably lean on a little bit more, especially as teams try to slow them down if Vooch continues to get this type of post position. So I thought that that was another thing that he did well today. And so those were the 3 MVPs on the night. And make no mistake about it. Look, I think that you can give an MVP to the entire team because once again, I just felt like the entire team contributed. Everybody was an MVP tonight with what they did, but these were the 3 players to me that stood out. So next, I wanted to go ahead and really jump into the rest of the starters tonight for the Chicago Bulls. And so starting with Tre Jones. And so with Tre Jones tonight, I think that it was a little tougher night for him, especially on the offense, because he had 8 points tonight. A lot of that came from the free throw line. Well, actually, all of it came from the free throw line. As you see, he was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. And so I thought that he did a good job as far as getting contact and getting there. He had 4 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He did have 1 block, which is a very nice block because he was guarding Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson, how he tries to get players into the air and tries to get, players to foul him. Tre Jones stayed disciplined. He stayed down through the series of fakes, and he got a nice block shot in there. So defensively, Tre Jones, I think did a terrific job. And I think that a lot of the energy that Tre Jones used today, it was spent on defense, really trying to slow down Jalen Brunson. And so I thought that he had a very good game today. And I think it was the type of game that you look at this and you say, okay, this is why you love Tre Jones, because he continues to make just the correct basketball plays out there. I think that when he had the ball in his hand, the pace was perfect as well. He was always looking for teammates and things like that. And so the space the pace. It just showed, I think, throughout this game and how he contributed. So I like Tre Jones with his effort there. And then next with Modest Buzelis, look, Modest Buzelis, man, he had probably, I think, the highlight of the night tonight. And so with him, he had a lob from Josh Giddey that was just terrific there. And so showing the athleticism and 13 points tonight. He was 4 of 10 from the field. He was 2 of 5 from deep, 40% on the night, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. And he was -5, and he only had 1 steal, and he had no rebounds tonight. But still, what I liked about Modest Buzelis and his effort is that you can see the defense is there. I think that he had some good defensive sequences out there. And also, too, I like the fact that he is showing just the confidence to go out there and just try to continue to just shoot his way out of this slump right now. Because, I talked about the struggle early on with the three-point shooting, but I think that he's continuing to stay with it. I've talked about this with several other players. I think that really with Modest Buzelis, he is going to take another step forward, especially once we get Kobe White back. But I liked what I saw from him. And so his ability to get to the free throw line, I think a lot of these shots that he got, those things are going to start to fall, especially you got to give the Knicks a lot of credit, I think with the kind of physicality and the length that they showed Modest today. And so next, the next player here is Issac Okoro. And so with Issac Okoro, he only had 3 points tonight. He had the steal, 1 of 3 from the field, 33.3%, and 1 of 2 from downtown. He was -11. And so with Issac Okoro, the thing about him is that I think a lot of the stuff that he's doing is just not going to show up in the stat sheet. And I do believe that with him, you're going to see that if you just really look at these games, the effort is there. He's doing everything that he can do there defensively. And I do think the offense is going to start to come for him because the shots are definitely there. Defenses are giving it to him. He knows what he needs to do as far as being a cutter off ball and things like that. But I do think that once that 3 ball starts to go down, it is going to take, the offense to the next level. And it's also, too, going to take him to the next level. And so I know it's a tough night here, with the stat sheet, but I still like the energy and the effort that I saw from Issac Okoro. And so next, kind of jumping into the bench performances here today. And so, starting with Kevin Huerter. And so, look, Kevin Huerter, once again, he was terrific off the bench for the Chicago Bulls, as you see, plus 13, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. He was 1 of 3 from deep, 4 of 7 from the field. He had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 2 turnovers. And so with Kevin Huerter, look, I think that the movement and the off-ball stuff that we're seeing from Kevin Huerter has been great. And what I like about Kevin Huerter is he's just not settling for the 3 ball. Like, he's going in, he's getting contact. In fact, he got a nice and one at the end of the game. And he's just showing that he's also a much better defender than people will really give him credit for, because he's out there using his length, getting the steals, the block shots. He's mixing it up, getting rebounds. Like, I love what I'm seeing from Kevin Huerter. And when you're talking about complete team effort, like, this is a guy that was a starter last year, and he has not blinked. He's come in, he's done his job, and he's looking exactly like how he looked when he was with the Atlanta Hawks and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And he's looking like the Kevin Huerter that was on that Sacramento Kings team that made the playoffs. And so he's looking great thus far. And I like the fact that he got a little banged up in this game. He came back and he still competed. And so next, Patrick Williams. And so, look, Patrick Williams didn't have a ton of points today, didn't have, just a lot in the stat sheet. But I am very impressed with what I saw from Patrick Williams yet again, because he finishes in the plus minus box score at plus 13. He was 1 of 1 from the free throw line, 2 of 4 from deep, 9 points. He had a rebound and 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 2 turnovers. And so with Patrick Williams, man, I love the and one that we saw from him today. Just completely just showing you that he's just making the decision and going with it. I think that last season he was thinking about stuff a lot more. and he's just going with it because this and one was strong. I like the fact that he is shooting the three ball with confidence. And you could just tell, man, that he is locked in off the bench. And so Patrick Williams continues to play well for the Bulls off the bench. And so I liked his energy. I liked his effort. I liked how he mixed it up tonight. And so next, I think the next player that played well off the bench for the Bulls was Jalen Smith. And so with Jalen Smith, what I liked about his game and what I think is really, kind of getting his game back on track is the fact that he's getting into the paint, because he had a nice seal and it was a nice dump down pass where he was able to finish in the paint. Then also too, you just see that he's knocking down 3-point shots now as well. So he's starting to find his rhythm there. But I think that really for him, it's about getting in the paint. So I think that much like Vooch, he was out there actually making himself available in the post. And so I think that Jalen Smith is going to have to do some more of that. And so in tonight's game, 10 points, he had the 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, or 2 blocks, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from deep for 50%. And then also 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And he had a nasty block too. I think it was late in the third or fourth quarter on Miles McBride. So just a great block off the backboard. So Jalen Smith showing some rim protection as well. And so I love what we saw there. Julian Phillips was a +9, even though he was not in the game that long for 6 minutes. But man, that just shows you how locked in this team is. If you play, you are a plus for us. And so anyway, that right there is the just players box score here. And so now I wanted to go ahead and jump into really the team box score and take a look at some of the keys out of that. So, one of the first things that I saw here for the Bulls was just their ability to get to the free throw line. I think that was huge tonight for the Bulls. And it really just shows you that this team is just showing how they are finding ways to win the game just differently each day. Like you're just seeing a different style each time going out there and winning the game, because in today's game, they were a little bit more physical as far as drawing the fouls. And so 28 of 35, 80%. I love that. And then next with the rebounds. And so you see it was a slim margin, 41-39. And they got some rebounds kind of late in this game that kind of sealed it. And so I love that with the Bulls staying in there, getting these boards and things like that, especially out rebounding the Knicks defensively. I talk about that often, that if you can just take away another team's chances as far as getting second chance opportunities, you're going to give yourself a chance to win every night there. And then the activity level with the steals. And so 8-3, that just shows you how locked in this team was as far as getting the deflections, getting the steals, and getting out and running. And then next, the block shots, 6-5. I just talked about how Jalen Smith got 2 of those. And so I thought that the Bulls did a terrific job there. And then this was huge, the turnovers, just 9 turnovers tonight for the Bulls to the Knicks 12. And so even though the Knicks had just 12, they still gave up 25 points off of that. And so what that shows you is that the Bulls are taking advantage of these possessions when they're getting them. And that's exactly what Billy Donovan had talked about really just in the training camp and just leading into the season, is that this team was going to have to take advantage of these possessions that they generate defensively. That's exactly what they did. And I love this stat as well. When you look at just the fast break points today, 9-7, that's another indication of the Bulls showing that they can really win in different ways. Because I think last season, I think a good indication of what they were doing, you would see the fast break numbers up, and then also to the 3-point shooting, not as much fast breaks today, which showed you that they're playing with pace. They didn't necessarily get the fast breaks, but because of this pace, they were still able to open it up, and they took advantage of the fast break points that they did get. And so just showing another way to win and how efficient that they were in the half court game. 54-38 in the paint. Again, good production. I think that this is the best defensive effort in the paint for the Bulls, because generally they've given up about 64 points. And that's saying a lot, because the Knicks came with a lot of size in this game. And so to hold the Knicks to 38 points there, I think that is really a good defensive performance with what we saw tonight from this team. And then, I think lastly, just before we jump out of here, just looking at some more notes here for this team, and just a huge shout out for them. I mean, 5-0 for the first time, I think in what 30 seasons here, or the 30 years, I think. So since the 96-97 season. And so this is the third time in franchise history for this Chicago Bulls team. And so that's huge. The fact that this team is 5-0, the first time since the 96-97 Chicago Bulls. Next up, with Billy Donovan, look, I think that he did a great job as far as making adjustments. I talked about the early timeout there that just really kind of got the team back together as the Knicks came out with that hot start. And really, they were able to stay composed. He made the adjustments, put the players in that needed to be in, and just really trusted the team to go out there and just do what they needed to do tonight. So Billy Donovan, you got to give him a ton of credit as he gets to his 200th win tonight. So congratulations to Billy Donovan. So that was good to see. Next, just kind of going back into this a little bit more, the 6 players that got into double figures for the Chicago Bulls. And so just getting it done as a team tonight, that was great to see. And so, look, man, this is another huge win for the Chicago Bulls, showing that they got the grit, the toughness, the resilience. Man, this team is just built different. I cannot wait to see what this team is going to do Sunday in the Garden. And so we will definitely be doing a post game about that. You guys let me know in the comments here what you guys' key takeaways were from tonight's win as the Chicago Bulls beat the New York Knicks tonight, 135-125, getting to 5-0. Once again, that is the first time since the 96-97 season, third time in franchise history here. And so that's huge for this team. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, look, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.